I believe we're all in a journey to finding meaning. And I don't even think there'll be a day where we say we have found meaning, because meaning is an everyday journey. Just a quick background of what logotherapy is. So logotherapy is a meaning-centered approach to psychotherapy. It was founded by Viktor Frankl, who died at age 91, 1997. So he was captured in the concentration camps, and when he was captured there, he then had to make a choice to say, I am not going to, number one, kill myself, and I am also going to be the best version of myself, even in these demeaning circumstances. So he then, when he went into the concentration camps, he had a manuscript of logotherapy, but at the time it was not called logotherapy. But he was given an opportunity by life to prove his theory, to prove that you can find meaning at any point and from anything, even from suffering. So he says he suffered. They didn't have food. They had little to eat. They didn't have shoes. It was cold. They were reduced to not being human. But in all that, he had made a decision to find meaning in all that. And he says there were other inmates who reduced themselves, who then behaved like animals. But there was a certain group of people who decided that they are going to keep their humanity. And he says here that human beings are a tri-dimension human beings. So we have the physical, the psyche, and the spiritual. And when we are faced with difficulties, that is when the spiritual is almost forced out of us. And he says that is the part of his kept him in the concentration camps. So he found meaning in the concentration camps. Yes, it was not easy, but when he came out of the concentration camps, he then wrote a few books. One book that he wrote is I don't have it with me here. I thought I was going to have it, but I forgot. Man's Search for Meaning. If you have time, read that book. It is a document. It documents his experience in the concentration camps, and he then explains how we are responsible and how we can overcome life's challenges when we tap into our spiritual being. He says, there's a quote that I love about him, from him, that says, from the book Man's Search for Meaning, and that it says, they've taken away everything from them. They were naked. All they had was their naked bodies. They were shaved off, and they were queuing to take a shower. And he says they took everything away from us, but they didn't take our human spirit, and they didn't take our humanity. It was then that we had to prove to ourselves that we are not what we have. We are not our qualifications. We are not our children. We are not our houses. But what we are, or who we are, is from the inside. And then, Logotherapy is based on three concepts: the freedom of will, the will to meaning, and the meaning of life. The freedom of will is basically what I was saying then, to say, I stood in the middle of the road the other day and I was like, who am I? At that point, I wanted to find out, who am I? I was ready to get the will. I was ready to learn of who I am. And also the will to meaning, our how do I put it? Our will to finding meaning. Are you ready to finding meaning? What are you doing to finding meaning? And also the meaning of life. So the meaning of life, I don't know the meaning of my life now, but I am showing up for every day. I'm showing up every day in my life so that when I have passed, someone can say, but that was the meaning of her life. I don't think Dr. Frankl knew the meaning of his life, but it is we who are now learning from his life that we are saying, oh, wow. So that was the meaning of his life. That was the meaning of the reason why he went to the concentration camps, so that today we can be talking about logotherapy. So life has an ultimate meaning, but the ultimate meaning is not known to us at this point in time. What we can do is showing up to the moments be present in the moment. That is what we can do so that we contribute to the ultimate meaning, or to finding the ultimate meaning. And then realizing values and fulfilling meaning. Concrete tasks manifest the objective values which bring meaning in human life. The task for which one is responsible at any given time is always a task according to the uniqueness of the person and the singularity of the situation. He divides these values into three types. So this is the sort of the three pillars of logotherapy: creative values, experiential values, and attitudinal values. Creative values are your career, your vocation, what do you do? So we find meaning in that. We wake up in the morning and say, I am a mental and emotional wellness being, and today I want to go and impact young people. I want to be there for young people. And so that gives my life meaning. Every morning I wake up and say, I have a call today. I need to prepare for this. I need to, it keeps you on your toes. That is the first value, which is creative values. Experiential values, the example I gave of my son, the Haga. So experiential values is how we experience people, the way we relate to people. So experiential values would be, an example of an experiential value would be a relationship between mother and daughter, or a relationship, friendship. That is like the experiences we go through in life. And the third one is attitudinal values. And this is, I think, the most difficult one, because this is where you choose your attitude. And it's easy to choose or not to choose attitude when you're going through, when life is easy, when life is happy. But when things go sour, when we are faced with tragedy, when we are faced with difficult situations, how do we then choose our attitude towards life? And that can be really defining, because sometimes you go through challenges or difficulties and we go right into depression because of the attitude that we choose to have towards certain situations or certain circumstances that happen in our lives. So this is the part where you change the attitude and say, okay, I've lost my mother, but what is life teaching me? I'm changing the attitude towards this situation. I am unemployed. What can I do about it? What is life calling me to do besides being an employee? I'm changing the attitude about this current situation. And I think for me, that is the part where it got me really to get into logotherapy, because I was going through a phase in my life where my attitude towards what I was going through were not empowering. So I saw everything as, I even said myself that life is working against me. Like I felt like the universe was conspiring against me for some reason. And that's why I stood and asked, why am I here? Who am I? Because in as much as I knew I had to be making an impact somewhere in the world, at that time I was nowhere near there, and that frustrated me. I was really frustrated, and I then had to change my attitude towards where I was. Sometimes there's nothing that we can do with where we are, with the current situation. What we can do, the superpower at that point, is to change your attitude. To change your attitude towards unemployment, to change your attitude towards poverty and say, okay, this is where we are now. So I'm changing my attitude. Life, what are you calling me to do? What are you asking me to do? And Dr. Frendel says that we are not the ones to be asking the questions, but life is always asking the question. When I was asking myself, who am I? It was life asking me, who are you? And how do you answer that question when life says, who are you? By showing up, by saying, okay, I am ready. I am prepared. I am here to live, and this is what I'm here to do. I think, in as much as we get frustrated, we know who we ought to be. Deep down in a deeper being, we all know where we're supposed to be, and the frustration comes between where you are and where you're supposed to be. And you're thinking, but I feel like I should be rich. Some people say that. I feel like I should be influential, or I know that I should be someone or something, but I'm not there. But what's standing between you and what's standing between that place and where you are is the action you take now, is the attitude, the attitudinal value, is the attitude you take towards where you are now, and the commitment to say, okay, this is where I am, but how do I move there? How do I find meaning where am I right now? How do I find meaning in this current situation? That is attitudinal values, and then the call of life. This call of life comes from outside of us. It's not something within us. It's not something we make up or imagine. It's something which is real outside of ourselves, which we need to respond to. It's a human responsibility to hear life's call and respond to it responsibly. In Frankel's view, responsibility is the ability to respond. Respond to what? Respond to the call from life in any given moment in time. And that is what I was saying, to say life is always calling us. I'm going to give you an example. This morning I woke up and I was not feeling well. My partner has visitors coming and I had to help in preparing for that. And also I had to prepare myself mentally for this meeting. I have a 4-year-old, and then it was so much, and I'm not feeling well in my body. And I could have easily stayed in bed and be like, I'm not feeling well, and I'm not going to show up. But I quickly jumped out of bed and I said, what is life teaching me today? What am I supposed to learn today? What is the meaning of this moment? And I found as I was going through the day, there were little glimpses of what meaning is. And one of the things that kept me going was I knew at some point in my life, I had imagined, maybe not this call, but I had imagined and I knew from the core of my being that I will speak to nations, and I had to show up. Life today was asking me, do you want to show up? Are you ready to show up? Are you ready for the call of today? And I had to show up in many different ways. I had to show up as a mother. I had to show up as a guest speaker now. I also had to show up as a supportive partner to my partner, which sometimes can be a lot, but when we find meaning, when we respond to life's call, we then are able to get to the next step. There's a quote that I saw about, I don't know if you know the cartoons, Pooh the Bear. Is it Pooh the Bear or Pooh Bear? The Pooh, ne? But anyway, Pooh and Piglet says, what is the next step? I'm just going to paraphrase. I can't remember the exact quote. But what Pooh says or Piglet says is, I don't know where, I don't see the way. I think Pooh says, I don't see the way. And Piglet says, do you see the next step? And Pooh says, yes. Piglet says, take that next step. But Pooh says, I want to see the whole staircase. And Piglet says, no, man, just take the next step. And the minute you take the next step will be visible. You don't have to see the whole staircase. And that's what responding to life call does. Is that you take one step and then you see the next step. And then you take that. You don't see the whole staircase, which is what I struggled with. And I'm going to share at a later stage. But it is one step at a time. So when you show up and respond to today, then life is going to reveal the next step. I don't know what may come out of this call today, but I know that I showed up, and life has to also show up. Like life has to also show me the next step. I am confident in life that is going to trust me with another responsibility because I showed up today, and that is really what the life's call is. The call of life is to responding to life, to the moment today. If you get a call now to say, I need your help, what do you do? Life is calling you. Life is asking, are you a helper? And you have to respond and say, yes, I am a helper, and run and rush to go help whoever is calling. Or you can not respond to the call and say, I can't. So that is up to you. But the more you respond to the call in the right way, and the right way is only known by you, the more you open up to life, and the more life keeps calling you, and you move closer and closer and closer to the meaning of your life, and also closer and closer to your destiny, if you wanna think about it that way. The responsibility of a person. This is Frankel's view of self-transcendence, and this is one of those basic abilities of a human being, and something that defines us as a human being, that we are always seeing the bigger picture beyond ourselves. A beautiful example that Frankel gives is the analogy of the eye, which is a great analogy of self-transcendence, because the eye always sees everything else but itself. But if it sees itself, Frankel says, then it is sick. If it sees a cloud, it is seeing a cataract within. So this is really to say every situation in life contains an injection that requires a right response. The person experiences the injection as a command of conscience. This is really just to say you are part of the bigger picture, like I was saying with my son, that I believe one of the responsibilities of being a parent is to prepare this child for the world and to teach him as well that he is responsible and he is also part of the bigger picture. And when we live our lives knowing that it is not only about us, but it is about our family, it is about the world, it is about everyone else that I meet, that I meet with, yes. And then you start being self-transcendent. What self-transcendence really means in this context is that you move away from self and you start living your life conscious of other people, and you're not selfish in your living, and you become responsible not only to your maker but responsible to the people around you. You become responsible in the way you parent. You become responsible in the way you love, in the way you are a friend, in the way you are a daughter, in the way you are a son, in the way you are an employee. You become responsible and you know that you are not your own person, but you are one puzzle who's part of a bigger picture. And for you to fit in, not necessarily fit in, but for you to live well with other people is for you to self-transcend and not make this life about you. In as much as it is about you and it is your life, but you are also here to impact lives. And most of the time, we're not living in isolation, right? We're living with people, and we need to know that we form part of the bigger picture. And when we form part of the bigger picture, we need to be conscious of the responsibility that comes with that. So we have this call, this demand from outside as we are living in the moment. That moment demands and puts a question to us. Ours is to respond to the question. We live in the moment and we must know how to respond to this life. So that is exactly what I was saying to say. Life is always asking you questions. Are you a good employee? Are you a good dog? Are you a good, if you're a doctor, are you a good doctor? Are you this? Are you this? Ours is to respond to life the right way. And I don't have the answer to how you must respond the right way. But I know how I must respond to my life the right way. Today I responded, I showed up. I'm not feeling well, but I'm here. And even if I touch one life with just one sentence from this presentation, I will go to bed fulfilled without even knowing it, but in hopes that this is a learning experience to someone as it is to me. Then I know I've done my part, and I know I showed up today. The question was asked, are you ready this morning? And I'm not sure, I'm sick. It seems overwhelming, but I then showed up, and that is what life and meaning is all about. We have to respond, because not responding is a form of a response. You can say, I'm not going to do anything, but by doing nothing, you are still responding and making it to do nothing. So this was very close to my heart because when I was going through that phase where I was pregnant, and I was like, am I going to be the same mother my mom was? And not saying that my mom was a bad parent, but there were things that she was not conscious about. And had I not made the choice to respond to what life was saying, or to my feelings at the time, to say there are things that need to be done differently. And sometimes not because they're wrong, but because they're not relevant today. They were relevant 3 generations ago, but then they're not relevant now. So what we're doing is we're just wasting time. So what is relevant today? What does my son need today? And I made the choice to respond. Had I not made the choice and said, I'm not going to do anything, I was making a choice and I was passing on the same thing, the same baton from previous generations, and I'm not blaming them for not making the choice, but I had to make the choice with the information I had, with the exposure I have. We are a generation where we are just a click away from information. So with the information that I had, I made the choice to change the direction. And was it the right choice? I think it was, from where I'm sitting. And for someone, it might not be. Someone might come from a generational line of things that were done right, and she or he does not have to do anything. But in my case, I had to do it. But the thing is, we need to understand that when we're not responding, when we choose to be quiet, we actually by default responding, and we're responding to what has been done previously. So you're giving leeway to what has been done previously, and I don't think that is what we want, especially if we choose to live as responsible human beings. Life is ready to bestow a sense of meaning and a deeper sense of fulfillment and grasp on the person who responds in the way he or she is meant to respond. I think I touched on that when I said I don't have your response. Even if you come to me as a practitioner, I cannot give you, I cannot tell you or teach you how to respond to your life's call. I can only show you how you, I can only lead you to a place where you can respond to your life call. And I think the mistake that we sort of make is that we think other people have our answers, but I don't think anyone has your life's answer. When life calls and it calls out to Ofentse has to respond. Even though I might be frustrated in terms of how do I respond to this, I'm going to go look for help to respond, but nobody has my answer. So it says life is ready to bestow a sense of meaning and deeper sense of fulfillment and grasp on the person who responds in the way he or she is meant to respond. So there is a way that you personally are meant to respond to this session today. And I think it is different from each person, and only you know how you can respond to this call. I don't know what stands out as I'm presenting, but whatever life is calling you to do, from this call, only you know that, and only you can answer that. And that is the right answer, or the way you are supposed to respond.